Hey, yo, everybody. How are
Hello,
we doing?
everyone.
Should I be more quiet?
No, I think you're good.
Oh, doing good.
But yeah,
What's up,
also I have an out at an hour.
Out in an hour. Heard that. Hard out,
Yes.
hard gout.
Gout sounds terrible.
Go trout fishing.
Go Mike Trout.
Yeah. Go Mike Trout. Go Mike Trout.
Are you more of a Dodgers or Angels fan?
Neither, but I do love going to the Dodgers games, but I
Okay.
don't care about baseball in the slightest bit.
Just you live well. I guess I don't know if you do live closer to Anaheim or Dodger Stadium.
Definitely Anaheim.
You think so?
Now, I don't know miles wise if that's true,
Yeah.
but I do know. Whoa! Look who it is.
Oh, hey
Hello,
there.
fellas.
Christian is flabbergasted right now.
Father Christian, hello.
Hello, Father.
I am very confused at this point.
Let's just say I was sick and tired of Christian saying, I'm going to reach out to get Sladkey or all these people on. And I was like, you know what? I don't believe you. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to trick you.
Yeah.
And what's even funnier is I had to keep it together because Christian and I were messaging back and forth, I don't know, a week or so ago, a week or two ago. He's like, oh, man, we need to get you back on the show. I'm like, yeah, totally should have me back on the podcast. That's a great idea.
Which
By that point, I had already talked to Damien, so I'm like, all right.
Which makes it even funnier as I was about to cancel today because I've been feeling not great, and I was like, it's just this guest that's canceled on us several times. I'm like, I don't feel bad canceling on him.
That would have been the funniest shit ever. That would have just been outrageous.
And I honestly, it would have been even funnier if that did happen.
If I just
like that would have been perfect.
Hey, I'm just not going to make it.
And I'd be like, okay, dude, that's cool. I'll just take it. And then you find out later.
Oh God, it would have been a power hour of just a power hour of Damien and I just going on. It'd be hilarious.
Just letting you have it.
So for viewers and listeners, had no idea today was going to be a returner guest of Travis, who is a good buddy of mine,
and my sworn enemy.
Yeah,
and that's why this works.
And that's exactly how it works. So, it's a nice little in between of, Christian kind of gets shit on all the time. So I come on and then I just, talk shit about Damien with Christian on Christian's side. So it's teamwork, just not entirely in Damien's favor.
That's true.
Exactly.
But yeah. So the last time I was on, I was living in Dallas, Texas. Well, Plano, outside of Dallas. It gets a little like the folks of LA when you say you're from LA and you're in Burbank or something weird like that.
Yep.
I would say Burbank's more LA than Damien being in LA. Starting early.
I'm wherever I need to be.
It's exactly.
The trash.
So, where you belong.
Only when I'm hungry, which is a lot.
You have to fight off the raccoons.
Yep, which is you, actually.
Yes.
Trash panda.
That's how we met. That's our meet cute.
Yes, exactly. I could go for a meat cube.
Yes.
Anyway, so last time I was, living in Texas where I had lived for 20 plus years, whatever. And since then, we have actually moved to Portugal because why not roam around and do something a little bit different?
Especially at this time in the United States universe.
And that was one of those prevailing factors. It's like, you know what? Now's a great time to get out of this shit show because as bad as in the U.S., Texas sucks even more.
Yeah.
Right.
Politically, I should say.
And so,
absolutely.
What is the initial feeling of being a trader?
First of all, we like the term expat or immigrant, depending on where you're coming from and what you're doing.
Depending on the color of your skin. That's what makes those two.
Where you're coming from and possibly the color of your skin makes a world of difference to some. But it's been different. It is wildly different, and it's it's one of those things where you kind of get used to it. Because
Yeah.
there's lots of great things, a lot of fun things, but there's also a lot of things you're like, oh, bureaucracies.
Mhm.
European bureaucracies are a joy. Portugal it's going to test your patience. Um, for example, so we got visas and went through that whole visa process, and then in February, in February is when we got our appointment with the immigration office, AMA here, to apply for a residency.
Mhm.
Laura got hers in 2 weeks. She got her
Oh,
residence card
wow.
in 2 weeks, processed, delivered 2 weeks, which is
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. I still haven't gotten mine.
Wait, so
Mine's still in process.
I want to go back real quick. Is bureaucracy, is that where you just vote on the best beer in Portugal? Is that what
Yes.
that
No,
is?
no. I mean, that would be tough because Portugal is not entirely known for its beer.
Right. That's why I was
Yeah.
concerned. I was like, it's what is it? A contest of three?
Okay, so I suppose so. There's two main schools of beer for your mass produced beer. There's Sagre and there's Superbock.
Okay.
Now these are like you can get a small one and it's like 75 cents.
Nice.
It's super cheap. It's perfectly fine beer.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But it's really cheap and it's also like they're small. They're like 25 centiliters. Like it's nothing.
That is tiny.
They're tiny, 20 25 20 or 25 something like that. But yeah, it's small, but it's just like you get a little taste and it's really
Yeah.
nice. And you can do that at restaurants or cafes. You just order an Imperial and they bring you this tiny beer and you have your one and you move on.
One.
And it's really
All right.
well. You can have one, but what's really nice is when you go to a bar or restaurant that has a selection, a microbrew or something like that, craft beers, and then you can just try a whole bunch. All of a sudden,
'Cause they're
that
all
one
so
tiny beer
tiny.
turns into a lot of big beers. By the end, you're like, oh, whoops.
That's a good point.
But it's just really, really nice. That's one thing I do love about Europe, especially Portugal, is the tiny beer.
Yeah.
And
The tiny beers.
the tiny beers is fantastic. But you've got cheap beer.
Love it.
Not cheap great beer like you find in like Czech Republic or Germany, but cheap beer.
Right.
And it's not bad.
That's awesome. Anyways, okay, so I do want to actually, that was a really shitty joke, and it actually turned into something informative, which is great for this podcast for a change. However, I do want to get into, because I think another reason, not only did I want to have you on, is because I wanted to surprise Christian with this, but also I think kind of what we alluded to at the beginning, which was like moving away from the United States is kind of something that everybody's looking to do. And I did want to get in a little bit deeper into like the whole visa thing, because you said your wife got it in 2 weeks. What is the determining factor on, like, is there things that make things move quicker, or is it all just a gamble? And what qualified her to get it in 2 weeks?
It's a gamble. So Portugal has they have a bit of a slower process. Like, it's not that it's outdated, but it's just like a slow process.
Yeah.
It can be a bit maddening with it. So it kind of, a lot of times with getting your residency process, because the visas that came in the same time, because we applied together. I'm technically the dependent, she's the primary, and that was easy. We went to San Francisco. It gets delivered to the consulate out there.
Is there a difference between, so you said residency card versus the visa? Are those two
separate things? Yeah.
So you got your visa. Okay.
So, so like as U.S. citizens, like, you can go to Europe, the Schengen countries, Schengen zone, and you've got your tourist visa automatically for the most part. I think it's going to change a little bit with having to do the electronic stuff, but you're good for 90 days for 3 months. And so what we got was a type of visa that allowed us to be here for longer. So for 4 months, while our residency application is being processed. So you apply and you get your visa, and that allows you to be in the country for longer than just being a tourist. Because if we came over here on travel and we stayed longer than 3 months, we'd be here illegally, right?
Right.
We'd be out way past our visa. So we got that visa, and so then once you're here, then it's about you're getting, well, once you get your visa, then you get scheduled for your actual residence appointment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's paperwork. And I don't know how someone does it without having an immigration attorney,
Yeah.
because there's so much, and their attitude a lot of times changes when there's the attorney there, because they do all the talking. It feels it's absolutely hilarious how it feels having the immigration attorney handle things for you when
Yeah.
you're there. So you get your appointment for residency, and you go to your appointment. Now, what's wild about how Portugal does it is, even though we're a married couple, like she's the primary, I'm the dependent, it's technically two separate applications.
Okay.
And so we get two separate appointments at the same time at different locations, different immigration locations. Yeah, that is. Now, again, luckily we have immigration attorneys.
Yeah.
They do that, help that, but that's two adults. That happens with adults with their kids as well, where their kid technically has an appointment at a different AMA than they do.
Like,
but again, like for
get
something
the bus,
like that,
you figure it out.
Right. Good luck, little Timmy. You got this. But I mean, again,
just
that's why you have
plead the fifth.
Right. So I don't know how that works out when that happens, but it's wild like that. So, but when you go to your appointment and you have an immigration attorney, you're literally, it feels like a parent teacher conference where you're kind of like sitting in the corner or sitting outside the room, and you're just seeing them going back and forth, the teacher and your parent, and they're like talking and showing different stuff. And you're just sitting there. And I have no idea what's going on. Oh, God, no.
It's all in Portuguese?
It's all in Portuguese. It's all in Portuguese. Which,
and they're like,
and for the record, Travis, do you speak Portuguese? Or
no, I can order my pastel de nata. I can say please, thank you.
You can order your baby beers.
Have a good day. I can order my baby beers. Por favor. But I cannot understand Portuguese. I do not know Portuguese, and so it's absolutely hilarious. They're going back and forth. They're going back and forth, and I'm just sitting there just.
And just like parent-teacher conferences, they're like, if Travis just applied himself, he'd be very successful, but he just messes around so much.
I just know that's what's being said about me.
It's an effort problem.
God, that's so true.
I know
poor
all
little
about
undiagnosed ADHD Travis.
Yeah, I know all about this too, because I was gonna say shout out to Sugar Mamas, by the way, real quick, because not only do they make all the money, they handle all the bullshit, and I'm just like,
God,
you can say whatever you want as long as you grant me access to what we're trying to get into.
So it's absolutely hilarious. So and so you go through your appointment and you do all this, and then it's just waiting, because then at that point they're processing your application and you're waiting. And they have about 3 months. It's supposed to be 90 days for them to process it. Things don't move quickly in Portugal. They move at a slow rate. We knew that going in.
Sure.
It's partly why we chose Portugal. It's just that slower life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then she gets her residency card 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, okay. And so now we're way past the 90 days, and so now we've got our attorneys, who they follow up, but it's a pretty common thing to where it's going to take more than 3 months. And maybe once you get past 5-6 months, then it becomes a little bit more of a concern going, hey, what's going on? But as long as you're at least still in process, you're fine. It did become a bit more of a headache when I'm trying to find a job in Portugal to do, but there's some workaround. So I'm technically like a freelance contractor now while I'm waiting for that to come in. So that was a whole other headache of dealing with a different bureaucracy to get that set up. And again, having an attorney is a good idea because they A, speak the language, and 2, know what's going on. So then you get to sit into another parent-teacher conference where you're just like, I know you're talking about me. God, I hope it's good.
Yeah. So kind of going back in a little bit more with it, of like, before you guys even probably got your visas in San Fran, of like, did you talk with an attorney beforehand, or like, like, okay, what are the boxes we have to automatically check to even for this to even be possible?
Oh yeah. So we did. Well, I say we,
I was
Laura, my wife, my wife was the one. She's like, we're sitting there, and since we've been married, we've had that conversation about, hey, maybe one day it's something we want to do is, go live in somewhere in a country in Europe, and we just hadn't really chosen. And she was the researcher in charge, our chief researcher, as far as where we're gonna go, like what visas to look for and everything. And she found the immigration attorneys. So it was just one day going, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, next Monday we're gonna have a video call with the immigration attorney in Portugal. I'm like, oh, sweet,
cool.
So you get with them, and they help prepare you with what you need leading up to that visa. So getting us set up with a Portuguese bank account, going through that process and taking care of that. What paperwork we're going to need, our application we need, and everything like that. So you do that for the visa, and they walk you through that process and help you. And then, which getting an appointment for that is an exercise in exhaustion as well. Yeah. And then they help you with the residency card. And at that point, you have someone, if you have any questions, if you have any issues, and they can. I go in there to try and follow up on my residency application, and they're like, yeah, it's in processing, sorry, whatever. And you're waiting hours to try and get in if you don't actually have an appointment. But the attorneys, they have special privilege with it's in the law that they get special privilege, so they can go in, get set up, and are able to process stuff a lot faster and get questions asked a little bit better. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, you have, if you're going to have an attorney on that, you're going to have them from the beginning before you even apply for your visa, because they're going to help you along the way. You can technically do it by yourself, but man, that is something else that,
especially if you don't speak Portuguese. Like that was the first hurdle. Like you couldn't do it because you don't speak Portuguese.
Right. Applying for the visa wouldn't have been an issue. Like that's easy because it's you're in the U.S. and dealing with that. But once it comes down to the next step in residency and stuff like that, like they do, and especially in Lisbon, most people do speak English, but
it's a lot of expats.
It's a lot. Well, yeah, there's a lot of, most Portuguese in Lisbon for the most part are going to speak English as well. And most people who do it on a day-to-day do, which is great, and need to learn Portuguese to make it even easier, because I don't just want to be, hey, speak English, because I'm not a dick like that.
In that way, at least.
It's if you're doing with AMA, there's that you would have some ability to do that, but knowing what to go in with and where to find it, and like getting onto the website, the tax portal to be able to get the documentation you need and all of that, like that'd be a lot more difficult to do that if you didn't have the tax attorney or the immigration attorney to help out and deal with all of that. So it makes a world of difference in that regard. If you spoke Portuguese, it'd probably be a lot easier to be able to understand what you need and to have and to go through the process. But as just dumb Americans that don't really speak the language, it's nice to have someone to help us and hold our hand and walk us through for the most part.
And I was going to say, one of the things that I think stops a lot of people from even attempting this, because again, I think most people have considered it, but I think that's as far as it goes, because if they're anything like me, they go, I don't even know where to start. How do you even know where to start on this process? Because obviously the visa, whatever, okay, let's get there first and foremost. But then it's like, do I need to have a job there? Do I need to buy property there? Like, what are the prerequisites of even making it
a starting point? No, I mean, it's a great question, and it is something that goes in. And that's why, especially my wife put in a lot of effort in researching, because every country is different, right? And how they do it, the length of time, and so, and it depends on the visa for the most part, like whether or not you can work. Some countries are a lot more restrictive. So the visa that we came in on it's what Portugal calls a D7, and it's mostly geared towards retaillees that with passive income or retirement money and stuff coming in. It helps when you have a home rental. We rent our home, and so there's our passive income, and it's more than enough to prove that we have the necessary amount of income to cover us here. So some are more restrictive than others. Like Portugal, you can come in on that visa, that type of visa with passive income and still work and do that. But like France has a similar visa but if you come in on that, you are not allowed to work. At most, you can maybe have part-time, but you're not allowed to have you're not employable at that point. So you got to be careful with the type of visa. Now, some countries have like digital nomad visas that you can do. I know Spain has a big one with that.
Yeah.
Portugal has one with that, which could have worked maybe, but that would have, then you're kind of relying on your job being able to still do that. And I can only keep my job in Portugal for so long because they didn't actually have an office in Portugal to convert me over. So it really, you gotta be careful on, you gotta decide, kind of where you want to go first and foremost, or if you're open like us, you have some options, but have an idea about where you want to go. And then you can start researching the different type of visas that they offer that you might be able to get and qualify for. The thing is the mobility of it can be expensive. Like the process, but you also have to have patience with the process as well to go through it. And we kind of got really lucky with how quickly we were able to do it. Cause I think November of 2024, October, November 24 is when, let's see if I can get my timeline right here. I think about November or October of 24 is when we started the process, first talked to a lawyer.
About a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it might have been earlier in 24, but yeah, in 2024 is when we started the whole process, worked through it. There were some other things working where we were gonna leave Dallas regardless.
Yeah.
We just didn't know where. Like there were some other things working that we might have landed on, but then the election happened and things changed, and we just went full throttle on the Portugal route.
Yeah.
And like, we're already been talking to the immigration attorneys in Portugal. Let's just do it. We got our appointment for the visa out in San Francisco, did that whole song and dance, got approved for it. So by the summer of 25, we had our visas ready to go. October is when we spent a month here. We brought all of our bags, came for a month, found our apartment, and moved in, essentially. Came back to the States for a couple of months because of weddings, the holidays, and just to get everything else prepared. And then moved our dogs, the rest of the stuff we were going to bring, and we flew in. And I've been here since December 30th, I think, is when I landed. And I've been here since then. And Laura came a day after because that's how it worked out, flying to bring both of our dogs here.
Right.
That was a whole other adventure, getting that.
I've heard
headache.
That
that's
is
expensive.
so much paperwork and like the shots they have to have and.
No, it's the paperwork's the issue because, and that's most of the EU is the same.
Yep.
And they're pretty similar with the EU. So getting that documentation is not terribly difficult. And like I said, most of the Schengen had similar rules. Like France and Portugal at least do, which made it easier because we flew Air France. But we had to fly one at a time because the birds that Air France fly out of Dallas are only set up for having one pet in the cargo hold.
Oh.
So I flew the 29th. She flew out the next day.
Yeah.
So I took our boy. She took our older lab, Lainey, and came the day after us. And that was exhausting.
Yeah.
Had a layover. You had to have a long enough layover in Paris to make the changeover because you have to collect your bags and your dog.
Oh.
And then recheck your bags and your dog.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
And also, by the way, Travis, they're 2 yellow labs, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. These are not small dogs.
These are not purse dogs. These are
No. These are 70, 75-pound Labradors.
You can't sneak them in on your head like it's a hat, like that video. Did you see that video?
No, I don't.
I did not.
Yes, I can't do that. No, no, like and these aren't small crates. These are extra large size crates because they have to be big enough for the dog to be able to like stand up and move around and stuff like that. So collecting baggage in Charles de Gaulle, having a cart, and I have 2 large suitcases, 2 checked bags, and then I have this crate as this giant ass crate with my dog in there, and go through that. Great. So luckily you get to De Gaulle, and then of course you have to change terminals. You have to go to a different terminals, which is a headache and all of itself to do. And then luckily you're able to check in the bags fairly quickly, recheck the bags very quickly. But the dog, you can only recheck an hour and a half before your next flight.
Oh, geez.
So, but you have to have a layoff that's longer than. That's at least 3 hours for the turnaround.
Yeah,
with the pets. So, and that's Air France rules on that one. So that was a whole headache doing that. And so I have my dog. I'm exhausted because I didn't hardly sleep on the plane either because I got a dog in the cargo hold. I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
So I slept like 30, 40 minutes, something like that. And so I was exhausted sitting outside of De Gaulle, just like, oh my God, I need this to hurry up.
Yep.
And then we hop on the next flight that he gets loaded on. Everything's fine. We land in Portugal, and then it's they roll your dog out of the back area and in their crate. They just like roll him out like, here you go. I'm like, okay, cool. And then you have to have your paperwork checked out by the veterinarian at the airport in Lisbon for them to make sure and go over, because you have to have the paperwork all set for the vet, make sure your shots and all of that. I'm like, I don't know, what are you going to do? Turn me around? Like, I don't, okay. And so finally, that takes a long time, especially if there's a line and other people with their dogs. And we finally get home, and my dog slept for 3 days. I slept for, I think we left the apartment we left the apartment only for him to go to the bathroom, and then we came right back because there were no like long walks. Like nobody moved. He was dead asleep for 3 days. Our older dog was the same way. Nobody moved. We were exhausted. And they were done. It was stressful, but it was, at the end of the day, like it was not bad. It was not too bad because you do it once and then
you luckily had everything go perfect. Like I've heard people getting like their dogs like lost, which is the most stressful thing.
Well, both of our that would be. Oh God, I would have. My wife would have burned Charles de Gaulle down to the foundation. She would have burned that place down to the ground if they would have lost our dog. But both of our dogs had air tags as well, so just to make sure.
I thought that the cargo area gets like freezing cold.
So no, because it's temperature control, pressure control.
Interesting.
So
have you heard those people that sneak in and they freeze to death?
Yeah.
Okay. So those people, when they do that, that's because they're like climbing onto the wheels, and they're in there.
Not high enough.
In the actual cargo, in the actual cargo area and cargo hold and stuff, it's pressure controlled. Now the area, and that's why the configuration is a little different. The area with like the dogs and stuff or pet carriers would go is also temperature controlled.
Got it.
So it's not as big of a deal in that regard. No. If you try and stay on the plane by holding on to the landing gear, you're gonna go up there, you're gonna freeze to death because that is not temperature controlled.
Right. Okay.
So that's not gonna work out for you. But Air France actually has rules that they don't. If the temperature above a certain degree, a certain temperature, and below, that they won't allow pet travel. You can sign a waiver if it's too cold, which 2 Labrador retrievers, like it would have to be Siberia cold for it to be like, we'd have to be Canada cold for that to be an issue, for that to even be a worry. But if it was too hot, and that's why luckily we did it at the end of December, like temperature was not going to be an issue.
No, there's
no way I would have attempted that flying out of Dallas in August or July. Right. It wouldn't have worked out. It would have been too hot.
Way too hot.
But timing worked out really well. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of issues in that regard. Just like annoying little things, but no lost luggage. There was no grand delay of our flights or anything like that. We both got very lucky in how that went through to get our dogs there here with us. So it was we got lucky, and we know that.
Yeah, flying, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, flying in December can be the worst choice you've ever made in your life. Especially
especially in the U.S.
Yeah. Trying to fly.
I think flying in the U.S. in general is probably the worst experience you could have.
That's true.
That is, there's something said about that. And that's why I always joke, like, I will fly a low-cost carrier in Europe. I have no EasyJet, Ryanair. I don't care. I will fly it.
Love
in
Ryanair.
the U.S., I will not. I will not do it in the U.S. Spirit.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
You had to bring it up, didn't you?
Yeah.
Spirit Halloween Airlines.
We have a watcher, folks.
But
Spirit in the sky, baby.
Frontier, and that's the only thing is Spirit. They didn't pretend to be something they weren't. They knew who they were. They don't care. They're like, whatever. This is what we are. Whatever. Like Frontier pretends to not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're a low cost carrier. Why are you pretending you're not? And that's where people get so mad and so ridiculous about it, is because Frontier is not open about it. Ryanair, they know who they are. They're not quiet about it. Everybody knows EasyJet, Jet2, whatever. Like they are who they are, and Ryanair's not going in.
We'll make you stand, but it's only going to cost you €3. So you can cry about it, or you can get to where you need to go.
And we're going to say the airport is in Lisbon, but it's actually 2 hours away from Lisbon.
Yeah.
I think they're actually dropping Lisbon. But no, they would actually fly into actual Lisbon and into Lisbon's airport.
Into the city center.
No, but right on Main Street. We flew them. God, when was this? This was a couple summers ago when we went to the south of France, and we were in Sardinia, the island of Sardinia in the Mediterranean, and we flew them back to London because we were flying out of London as our hub, and they fly to London, but it is not in London. Was it Stansted? I think is
Stansted, yeah,
Stansted, and that. I mean, this was an Air Force base from the 40s, like that opened up just after World War II.
It's the poor people airport.
It is, and it hadn't been updated since the 90s, and they had just started doing some updates when we landed there. And you're like, oh, this is terrible. I'm never doing this again.
That is it.
Knowing full well I would probably do it again.
Oh, yeah. 10 euro for a flight? For a 4-hour flight?
Oh my God. I think that trip was hilarious because we flew, we got a stupid deal flying. I think that was the trip. We got a stupid deal flying like premium or something like that, but it was to London into Heathrow. Yeah. And so we flew to Heathrow, and then we just kind of Frankenstein a trip together where we flew EasyJet down to Nice. To experience the French Riviera, and then EasyJet again to Sardinia, and then Ryanair back to London. But like those 3 flights on those low cost carriers, I think probably $300 a person total combined.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I think so. Yeah, two people on 3 flights. I think it was like maybe $500-600 total for us.
Once you get to Europe, traveling is fairly inexpensive.
I can't go to Omaha for under 500.
Yeah,
honestly, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. But yeah, like getting into Europe is it's so cheap once you're here to travel through. Like I think we've looked at flights, and I can't really go anywhere and do a lot of things without the residence card because I'm technically have overstayed. If I go anywhere else in the Schengen, they're like,
oh yeah, I was gonna. Okay, you keep also saying Schengen.
Yeah, the Schengen zone.
Yeah, that's the zone.
Yeah.
Europe is split up into 2 zones.
Okay, that's what you're...
Yeah, so like Europe is wild because you've got a lot of different things. So you've got your individual countries, obviously Portugal, Spain, France, Germany, all that. And then, of course, a lot of them are in the EU. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, you've got the Schengen zone. And so this is where you can travel it's kind of like the U.S. where you can travel between countries without having to go through border control. So it opens it up. In that regard, it makes it very easy to travel, so you're not constantly having to go through border control every single time.
Yep.
So I think there's like some 30 countries in Schengen.
Yeah.
The UK is not.
No,
Jackasses.
A lot of my English friends are not happy about that.
Yeah. Well, the biggest issue is because their stupidity with Brexit. But but like Norway is not in the EU, but they are in the Schengen. So if I fly to Norway from here, I wouldn't go through border control. Wouldn't have to worry about it. But we could fly to Spain, and I think the flights are like $60, $70.
Yeah.
It's like for a flight. I mean, bare bones, like a weekender bag that I'm just carrying with me. It'll cost me $60, $75. I mean, it's like nothing. So it's super, super cheap. And then, of course, if you're in other countries that have, like France, have high-speed rail, the travel is so freaking love a high-speed train. Not to get onto that soapbox, but high-speed rail is fantastic. So hopefully in about 10 years, we'll have a little bit more of that here in Portugal.
Okay, and we won't have any of that here in the United States.
No, thanks to the oil, car, and airline industries and their lobbyists.
That's my president.
Again, Texas could have had a high-speed rail starting in the 90s.
Yeah.
But Southwest, which I have loved Southwest until, private equity bullshit.
Yeah.
But Southwest and what's his name? Herb, who founded Southwest, like because of him and the airline lobby, Texas was like, oh no, never mind. Cause he's like, well, it'll be super cheap. It'll be cheaper just to have this airline, no check bag fees and super cheap commuter stuff. Like great. But that's not the case anymore. And now we're 30 years later and we don't have high speed rail. We could have had that for a long time now. But
hey, the interstate's like six from Dallas to Houston. It's like 6 lanes wide. So we got that.
Which guess what? If you had a high speed rail, you'd have a lot less traffic on I-35 or I-45. Yeah. Less traffic, less wear and tear on the road. So you're spending less on that and roundabouts are a very quick way to get me on a heater talking about something.
Look, man, our government needs money, and who's going to make it if not us?
Yes.
They can't just print this stuff.
Just ridiculous. But I mean, all those reasons, like, and I say that like Portugal does not have high speed rails really. Like they've got a decent rail system. Like where we live, we're kind of on the edge of the Lisbon metropolitan area. So we can hop on a train from our little town that we're in outside of Lisbon here. Hop on a train. It's like 40 minutes to Lisbon, to downtown Lisbon.
Okay, to the city center proper.
And exactly, the city center. And then from there, they've got the metro in Lisbon that can go places, or they've got a pretty good bus system. It's actually how I get to work as well. So it's nice. But from Lisbon, then we could take the train up. I think it's like 3.5 hour train ride to Porto. So we go all the way to the north. It doesn't really extend down to the south to the Algarve, which is fine because that's where most of the Brits are. Yeah. And so we'll keep it separate around from them. But
it's also cool that you guys have Porto's Bakery over there too. I thought that was just in LA.
God damn it.
Not a fun pitch. But yeah, so it's the public transit we get to deal with here is, I mean, they complain sometimes a little bit like, oh, it's not as efficient. I'm like, y'all have no idea what I've
Have you tried to take the Dallas train before?
My brothers in Christ, you have not experienced DART.
Yeah.
Which pisses me off about DART. Getting on trains in Texas again is they just opened the new line in Dallas area that would go from close to where we lived in Dallas or in Plano area and open the rail that went to the airport. I'm like, you bastards. Yeah. You rat bastards. Yeah. I lived in that house for 5 years. I've lived in the Plano area for 25 years, and you just now put this in there to where I could have taken a train to the damn airport. DFW, like you son of a bitch.
My
Made me
favorite
so
thing
mad.
ever is when you get into what is and isn't inefficiency, like what does and doesn't
Right.
qualify
Right.
as inefficient between the US and literally pretty much any other country in the world.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, oh, this train's so inefficient, it ran me 10 minutes late. I was like, 10? That's early.
Really?
Or like the inefficiency of the
Fascinating.
healthcare system of like the places that have free healthcare. They're like, well, it's free, but it's so inefficient. And I was like, oh, but ours is
Yes.
is expensive and inefficient, and that's better.
Right.
I don't understand.
Right. And it's all perspective, is all subjective for the most part, because
Yeah.
those countries, I mean, Canada, for example, or like I'll use Norway because we've been to Norway. My wife's dad, he was a foreign exchange student, like in Norway, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, however long that was. And so we know people there. So like they've got free healthcare.
Right.
And if it's emergency healthcare, like that's quick.
Yeah.
It's great. Now your elective stuff or stuff that can wait, it does. There's a point, like it does take longer. Like you're waiting a few months and everything like that. But if it came down and you were diagnosed with a type of cancer, that the turnaround on that kind of stuff is so fast. Like it's not like you're waiting to die. Like that's not how it works. That's not how it happens. But you also at the same time have the ability to get private insurance.
Mhm.
And you know how much private insurance is for the two of us here in Portugal? It's like it's not even $200 a month.
That's insane.
For the two of us.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit on the more expensive side for the most part. I think it's less than that. I think it's actually like $175, something like that. But
yeah,
it's like nothing. I know like France is super cheap as well.
Mhm.
You're talking like $40-50 a month. But like you can get private insurance that does other stuff. So you can move faster with things. So, some things like that. But it's cheaper at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, you can complain about it taking longer, but you're not choosing between food and a prescription,
right?
For one, like in the US, and which is even worse now because of stuff. But it just makes your cost of living. It's like, oh, well, you're paying so much in taxes. Yeah. How much are you spending on your health care?
Yeah.
Right.
There's one country in the developed world. There's one first world country that people actually go bankrupt because of health insurance and health costs, medical coverage, and that's the U.S.
Yeah.
And they're ironically poisoning us with our food system, so it's a never-ending cycle of that shit. But speaking of complaining, you mentioned complaining, and that's my favorite thing ever.
Hell yeah!
I'm gonna ask you, now that you've been there for a little bit of time, I know that you're not yet a full-time citizen. I won't call ICE on you, but what is the number one complaint that you have about Portugal right now since you moved?
God, it's nothing major, but like, so what's funny is they still are fairly not cash reliant, but there's a lot of places that still only take cash. Now there are, you'll get some complaints from the Portuguese about that as well, because they're like, well, they're trying to screw with the taxes. They're trying to be funky with their taxes. That's why they do that.
Makes sense.
But so there's little things like that, but things are not as convenient.
Yeah.
So like I can't just get on Amazon and order something to have in 2 hours, right? And to have delivered later today. And that's one thing you kind of get pampered by in the US is that the convenience factor, right? You can get things so quick. Like at our home in Texas, our nearest grocery store, which is just a mile up the road, but we had 3 grocery stores on our intersection, on our one intersection, like 3 of them. I had a Trader Joe's, a Whole Foods, and a Market Street, another large grocery store. Like there's so much convenience with that. So there's a little bit of difference, less convenience here.
Yeah.
But that also, again, goes along at the same time with that slower pace of life, being able to calm down and just be more relaxed about things and more intent focused. So like more, I'm trying to find the word, but just be more intentional with what you're doing and how you're doing
present,
things.
probably. Like,
exactly.
I don't know how much of our life. because I think that's the double-edged sort of convenience. Obviously,
Right.
convenience is great because I like convenience,
Yeah.
but we only have a culture that focuses on convenience because everything that isn't work is considered extra. And so
Right.
you have to focus on convenience in order to make time to make other people money.
Yeah.
And if you're not making
Exactly.
people money, then what the fuck are you doing here? Right. And
Right.
so I
Right.
think that's where the convenience factor, where it's like, oh, it's not as convenient. And it's like, no, but now you get more time to not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
So it's like a
And,
double
like,
edge.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to it. And so that's the only complaint, right? Is it's hard. It's different. Like the slowness of the bureaucracies, which
Yeah.
I'm not even going to pretend to imagine. And I had this conversation with our tax attorney is I never really thought about the bureaucracies being a U.S. citizen, being born in the U.S. and dealing with that, because the only time you're really dealing with a bureaucracy for the most part is, okay, you're getting your car registration renewed, your driver's license, and that's like once a year or once every few years, depending on what it is. And like, it's not that big of a deal. Like my car registration, I did it online, whatever, didn't really think about it.
Right.
But the bureaucracy of going through like what I have had to do for residency and stuff like that, it kind of gives you appreciation going like, it's different. Like I understand. And that kind of
Probably
goes along with the
still
whole travel
quicker than the U.S. immigration process.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, I
By
would
far.
never want to go through that. It's so complicated, and there's so many kind of backstops where like all of a sudden you run into it's a labyrinth, if you
Yeah.
will, and that's another thing where you
Great
have
movie.
to have an immigration attorney.
So
I mean, I'm not gonna say no, but yes, it's a great movie. I haven't watched it in a long time. God, I think we
Power
watched
of the
that
Babe.
as well.
Power of the Babe.
God.
So you talked about your car. What'd you do with all your stuff? Like, because you had a house, you had a car, like you had a life here in the
so
Have
States.
you ever heard of a sledgehammer?
Oh my God.
Like,
And I wish we could have just burned it all and
Hired
just like walked
Gravedigger.
away.
yeah.
So we packed up everything, and we were pretty we tried to be as specific as we could with what we were packing and try and do that, which even now there's stuff we still want to bring over clothing wise. But we packed up everything, and luckily my in-laws, they live a little bit outside of Dallas, on the lake. They have a lake house with a fairly large property, and they have a giant barn that they put up
Okay.
that we were able to store stuff. And we have a room. They have a guest house that we have a room. So a lot of our stuff is there. Our bedroom set from our primary bedroom at our old house in Texas, that is now all set up in that room there. So if whenever we do go back, Lily will be in our bed that we paid for. Our dresser is all in there. And so we have all of that. So most of all of our stuff is there. We sold a few things, stuff that we had no intention of keeping, that if we ever did move back to the US, if or when, we were never going to use anyway.
Yeah.
We didn't want to have it. It was just, our kitchen or our dining room table that we had. We didn't care about that thing.
Yeah.
We picked it up, used when we moved into the house. So we sold a lot of things as well that we were never going to use again. But most of it is at my in-laws' house for the most part, either stored away or already set up, like our Peloton bike is. Yeah, it's being used. So we were lucky enough. Again, very lucky with a lot of things, because not everybody has that. Some people just have to sell everything, donate, give it away because they're moving across, or they have to get a storage unit and pay for a storage unit. We're lucky enough not to have to worry about that. We moved here, and now I live 5-minute walk away from the coastline, be able to walk to see the Atlantic Ocean. So,
Amazing.
It's that was the only thing, like when we were going to move, that was our like top qualifier thing. It's like, wherever we're going to move, we're going to live by the water.
Yeah.
That was going to be a thing. Like if we're going to move to Europe, like we're going to do that, and we're going to live on the ocean. Like that's just, so if I go out on my patio, like I can actually see a sliver of the water from here.
Awesome.
It's down the street and just on the other side of a big old hotel apartment complex. But I can see across and do that, so I can walk across. And today we walked down to Old Town or Centro, Cascais here and to where the beach is, and it's a 25-30 minute walk, mostly all downhill
Yeah.
for us, and we laid out by the beach. It's
Yeah.
30-minute
Amazing.
walk. Left there, had a sandwich and a beer, and took the bus back because
Yeah.
who wants to walk uphill, honestly?
No.
It's true. And the Atlantic Ocean is the best ocean.
It's so cold. It's so cold. I have not gone fully in yet. And we've gone to the beach many times, but I have not fully dived in yet because it is so damn cold. That water is
Well, you gotta
just
think you
unreal.
are still fairly north. Like,
Right.
I think a lot of people have that
Yep.
misconception. It's about, especially
Oh,
like
yeah.
Spain. You're like, oh, it's hot, it's all this. But when you look at like the line of latitude, you're like, oh, you're with Nebraska, I think.
I call
Yeah,
it the line of ratitude.
we're almost
Oh,
we're almost jeez. We're almost on the exact same latitude, I think, as San Francisco.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we're right there with that, similar in that regard. Now what we really love is there's a difference in Lisbon and where we live. Like I said,
Mhm.
we're on the edge of their metro area. But Lisbon kind of sits in a little bit. They're,
Mhm.
you know, into a not even a bay, but it's kind of where the river outlets and,
Yeah.
and leads into the water, but it's more inland. So they're not catching the breeze and stuff. So it'll be about 10 degrees hotter a lot of
Mhm.
times in Lisbon than it is in our little sea town of Cascais, because we get that ocean breeze coming from the north and everything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, and it keeps it a lot cooler. And it makes a world of difference. So it's gonna get hot, and we don't have air conditioning in our
I was-
apartment.
I was
That's about
just
the-
going to ask that. Yeah.
We
Or,
do
yeah,
not.
I was going to generally ask
It's
too, of
hard.
like, how did you find your apartment? Like, how was that process?
We got a real estate agent. So Idealista is really the big search tool in Europe for the most part, especially in Portugal, on listings and stuff like that. But you gotta be careful because just like the US, you get listings that are scams.
Mhm.
And so you need someone, especially when we weren't here.
Yeah, boots on the ground.
Yeah, it was boots on the ground. We weren't here to be able to look at things because we were trying to get an apartment before we even got here because you needed a place to stay to have to apply for your visa and stuff like
Right.
that. There's some workarounds that we were able to get to do that. So we didn't get our apartment until we were actually here, but we did an Airbnb when we got here, and then we went around, and this was actually the first place that we looked at when we got here. That we were able to look at, and we saw I think one or two others that same day, but then we put an offer on this apartment, and so this was like the end of our first week here, that we looked at our apartment. We looked at it on a Thursday. We
Mhm.
signed the lease agreement and moved it. No. Wednesday we saw it, put an offer. Thursday they agreed. We signed the lease. Friday we moved in.
That's crazy. That's so fast.
And luckily, and we did it with some purpose, but it's a already furnished
I was
apartment
about to
because
say, is it pre-furnished?
we didn't have anything,
Right.
and we don't have a car here either. So it's not like I have something that easily move furniture and stuff like that or go buy stuff. So we bought something that was already furnished, and once we know what we're doing a little bit more in life, when it comes time to renew at this fall, then we can decide whether or not we're going to do another furnished apartment or something that's unfurnished and try to work our way up with stuff that way. But yeah, we got pretty lucky with finding this place and it coming available. It's a bit small. It's bigger than our first apartment that we lived in when we were
Right.
married. But it's probably half the amount of space that our house was in the US.
Yeah.
So a little bit of adjustment there. And then of course there's no air conditioning,
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a
I
change.
feel you, brother.
Not
Same
a
here.
huge. It wasn't a big deal in the wintertime, which is actually fantastic. And it gets actually very cold in the wintertime in these apartments.
Yeah.
So luckily we had, wool socks and
Mhm.
sweaters. It was fantastic. And the sleeping was great because it was cold in the room.
Yeah.
But now we're getting into summer and the last few days have been hot. And it's like, oh my God, we might actually need to get ourselves a portable AC unit or
Yeah.
something like that. So that's being discussed and is in consideration at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's
for it,
the
Chris.
only thing is that it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So I have to leave soon because Abby has to leave for an appointment, so I have to watch the baby. But what would you say, if you don't mind sharing, how much do you think you spent getting everything, the attorney, the flights,
Total sum of relocation.
like, because that is also a big barrier for a lot of people to do this. Like, and you and
Yeah.
Laura are in a very fortunate space where you could afford to do it, but like, if you were to even like give a guess.
So the attorney part was a big part of that, and that really cranks it up because that in of itself is a few thousand. Man,
Would you
all in.
say under 20,000?
Oh yeah, no, I
Okay.
would say we're probably closer to that 10 to
Wow.
That's
probably
actually
10-ish.
super cheap.
10. It's kind
we're
of hard.
asking the wrong man. Bring your wife on. We'll have
God, no.
Let's bring the man
'cause
of the house
if
in.
you're if you're talking about like the cost of attorneys, the cost of getting our dogs,
the dogs had to be a huge cost.
That was a couple thousand. The attorneys were a few thousand. We might be closer to 15, I think, at the end of the day.
And then also probably your trip up to, because you had to go to San Fran. That's an extra, because you have to go to embassy.
I mean,
or
it is, and again, we were fortunate to be in the position we were in, to be able to rent out our house, which that got a little stressful there, trying to find a renter for that.
Do you have like someone managing your property, or
yeah,
okay,
yeah, no, we've got a management company for that, and so we don't have any contact with the actual renter.
Yeah,
want no part of that whatsoever.
We couldn't do that in California because they would just never leave, and there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah, no, you don't have that same thing in Texas. You don't have squatters' rights in Texas, so that is
gun laws.
That is one thing. Yeah, that is one thing that I will say. Like, that is nice about Texas is the lack of squatters' laws. Now that is unfortunate because that gives a little bit too much power to land to your slumlords. But which we are not, because we only own one property in a very nice area. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the nicer zip codes in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Mm-hmm.
But it is one thing that is nice because if they were just to stop paying, it would be very quick and easy to get that worked out to get them out of there.
Yeah, I'm guessing the
Collin County
company,
Sheriff's Department would get them evicted pretty quick.
The management company just skims a little bit off the top of the rent, and then
for sure
that.
Yeah, and that one's not bad because it really depends on the management company, but some are up to like some 10, 15%. Some are like 15, 20%. Ours are not. Ours, I think it's like 5, 10%. I think something really like that.
10% is fair, I think.
But it was a pretty decent market, and it more than covers what our mortgage is, and helps us live here, which is great.
Right.
So sold our. So okay, so here's a caveat though with how much we spent to move here, as at the same time as we cut down on a lot of costs. And we both sold our vehicle. She sold her car to her dad, and I sold mine outright with equity. So we kind of came out even a little bit in that regard. So although we did, and again, a fortunate position, not everyone is in that position to do it like we did. Because it's expensive. It's expensive to move, even if you're moving across the state or trying to move across the U.S. That's hard to do, or across the city. Sometimes it's just hard to do to move up and to move somewhere else. There's not easy access. It's expensive to do. But it's expensive to move out of the country. It is, but we were just lucky to be in a position to be able to do that and it not break us.
Yeah.
So, though I will say, unfortunately, the salaries in Portugal are a lot less than they are. They
are like half.
That's what Abby and I keep saying too. She's like, I would take a huge pay cut leaving California to go anywhere else in the world for my specialty. And I was like, that's true, but it would also cost
and then
less
again,
to live there.
there's caveat. There's always that caveat to it, right? Like, yeah, it's a major cut, and so for what I was paid in the U.S., I would have to be at like a senior manager, director level here to have an equivalent salary for the most part.
Sure.
But at the same time, once you get to that level, like Portugal, the thing is like once you get to that level where the company provides a vehicle, then you're like, oh, okay, because you mean a lot of times they're paying for your insurance as well. Like, so once I actually get my my resident citizenship, that's
way down
10 years down the road. That'd be 10 years because they just changed the law on that. But yeah, because when we originally
it was
applied,
only 4,
and
right?
moved here, it was 5. Yeah, it was 5 years. But then they literally just passed it, so now it's going to be, I think, 10 years for us. So it is what it is. Whatever. I mean, their laws. We just got to work around it. But once I get my actual residence card, then I can be converted to an actual employee. My insurance is paid for at that point. So that's one less cost that we have to deal with, or a lower cost, because then it would just be a small amount for her.
Yeah.
Because she's still U.S. contract based and not a big deal. So, I mean, that's one thing. Like, it's just so much cheaper. Health insurance and that's they pay for private insurance.
Right.
Oh,
So
wow.
you have your free government insurance, right? Which, whatever. Okay, cool, great. But they also pay they pay for your private insurance, which is not that much at all. So that 22, I think in Portugal it's mandated 22 vacation days a year. They have 13 state or country
bank holidays.
Bank holidays. They've got 13 of those. And then what is wild about Portugal, and I found this fascinating, is you get paid an extra 2 months. So you get a holiday bonus. So you basically get paid. You get paid 14 months in 12 months.
Nice. And you only work 11 months.
You work 12. No, you work 12. Like,
well, you get with the holidays and PTO.
Right. So you're not working on much, but you're getting paid more on top of that. So if you're a contract worker like that, or excuse me, an actual on a contract salaried worker. So there's trade-offs. Yeah, I'm making a lot less, but it's really not that bad at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Very much a cultural thing of like, once 5 o'clock hits, you're done for the day.
Oh yeah. Also, Portugal is hilarious because you get a daily stipend for food.
Nice.
For lunch, or like you can use it in grocery stores or restaurants. Like you get, and it ranges anywhere from like 9 to 10 euros a day, or 8 to 10 euros a day. It depends on the company and stuff like that. I'm like, I saw that when I was applying. I'm like, oh, is this going to be satisfactory? I'm like, that's great. That sounds.
What does this mean?
Yeah, like I can just use this.
And this poor recruiter, she's like, this poor recruiter, she's like, yeah, how's it sound? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stop you right here. This is a little bit different for me. Thank you. I'm gonna ask some dumb questions.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And she said, oh yeah, you have 22 holidays. I'm like, okay, so is that like vacation days, or is that like, bank holidays? She's like, oh no, vacation days. There's all these bank holidays too. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So guaranteed 4 weeks off plus 13 extra days off. Yeah. That sounds pretty great.
Oh yeah. And I'm still figuring out the Portuguese bank holidays, and I didn't realize there was one on June 4th. And my manager was like, hey, you worked that day. Did you know it was a holiday? I go, no.
She goes, a bulletin?
Yes.
Because I work with the global team. I work with the global team, and so she's based out of the UK.
Yeah.
And the main lead, she's based in the UK. My manager is based out of France, and she's like, "Hey, we had a call and we did work. Like, that was a holiday. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry."
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm off on Tuesday as a compensation, like a makeup day.
Yeah.
Like, no, you have to take this day off.
Yeah,
because there's things around if you do work holidays. There's like additional stuff like that. So I'm like, my bad. I didn't know. I'm still figuring out these holidays too. So it was hilarious, and like they take that seriously here, which I absolutely love. And most places outside of the U.S. do. take him very
Yeah.
seriously. Like, you just don't call me, don't talk to me. And
Yeah.
you say, hey, we're out on a bank holiday. Everybody understands, like, oh no, that makes perfect sense. Don't worry about it.
So that is excellent. I think we need to have you back on.
Yeah,
Because,
for sure.
Christian's about to jump out of his skin right now.
Well,
Abby's
got the belt and the hanger ready to just beat him to death.
You don't see it back here.
One last
Go
question.
be a parent. Parent your child.
One last question for Travis. Are you staying in Portugal forever, or are you going to come back at some point?
To be determined. It really just kind of depends on what happens and where things go. Like, we're going to be here for, at least a year. It's probably going to be at least 2 years, I would imagine, unless something dramatic changes and just an opportunity arises that you just can't say no to.
Mm-hmm.
But for foreseeable future, yeah, we're going to be here. But to be determined. Don't know if it's going to be forever or if it's just for now. We'll see what happens.
We'll have to for sure do like a 6-month check-in. We'll check in every 6 months because you've been there essentially pretty much 6 months at this point, and so.
And I'll let Christian know ahead of time this time so he can plan accordingly.
Yeah, and not make it have to have such a strict time frame. I was like, oh yeah, it'd be fine. It would be because I was like, wasn't looking forward to the guests we were going to have. I was like, okay, we'll probably cut it short anyway. And then
happy accidents, man. That's what I'm here for.
Bye.
Bye.